It all began in the fall of 2019, when I was 17 years old. I had grown up in a small town called Elmwood, a place where everyone knew everyone else's business, and dreams of escaping to the big world were as common as the autumn leaves falling from the maple trees. My parents, David and Linda Thompson, were simple folks. Dad worked as a factory supervisor, coming home every evening with grease on his hands and a tired smile on his face. Mom was a school teacher, the kind who believed in the power of education to change lives. They had saved for years to send me to St. Helena's College, a prestigious 6-year program in liberal arts and sciences located in the rolling hills of upstate New York. It was known for its rigorous curriculum, beautiful campus, and alumni who went on to become leaders in their fields. To me, it represented hope, a chance to break free from the mundane and build a future full of possibilities. I remember the day I arrived like it was etched in stone. The bus dropped me off at the wrought iron gates, and I stood there with my suitcase in one hand and my backpack slung over my shoulder, staring at the towering spires of the main building. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and fresh-cut grass. Students milled about, laughing and hugging, their voices a cacophony of excitement. I felt a mix of nervousness and exhilaration. "This is it," I whispered to myself. My new beginning. My dorm was in Evergreen Hall, a historic building with creaky wooden floors and high ceilings. My roommate, a girl named Emily from California, was already there, unpacking boxes of posters and books. She had long blonde hair and a sunny disposition that immediately put me at ease. "Hi, you must be Sarah. I'm Emily. This is going to be so much fun." We spent the afternoon chatting about our majors. Mine was English literature, hers was psychology, and sharing stories from high school. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged. But that feeling didn't last. The first week of classes was a whirlwind of orientations, syllabus reviews, and social mixers. It was during lunch in the grand cafeteria, with its vaulted ceilings and long oak tables, that the nightmare began. I had filled my tray with a modest meal, a turkey sandwich, a bag of chips, an apple, and a bottle of water. As I navigated the crowded room looking for a seat, I passed a table occupied by a group of seniors. They were the queens of the campus, beautiful, confident, and untouchable. Their leader was Victoria Langford, a tall brunette with piercing blue eyes and a family name that adorned one of the campus libraries. Beside her sat Rebecca Klein, athletic and sharp-tongued, and Sophia Vargas, whose smile hid a cruel streak. I didn't think much of them until Rebecca stuck out her leg, tripping me. My tray clattered to the floor, food scattering everywhere. Laughter exploded from their table. "Watch where you're going, freshman," Victoria said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Or is that too hard for you?" The others joined in, pointing and whispering. Faces turned to stare, some amused, some pitying. I knelt down, cheeks burning, picking up the mess with shaking hands. No one helped. Emily found me later in our room, but I brushed it off as an accident. "I'm just clumsy," I said, forcing a laugh. But deep down, I knew it was deliberate. That was the start. Over the next few weeks, the bullying became a daily ritual. In the hallways, they'd shoulder me as I passed, sending my books flying. "Oops, didn't see you there," Sophia would say with a smirk. They'd mock my clothes, simple jeans and t-shirts from discount stores, calling me thrift shop girl, loud enough for others to hear. And then there were the physical assaults. A push into a locker, a slap on the arm that left a red mark, or a accidental elbow in the ribs. The bruises were easy to hide under long sleeves, even as the weather warmed. I didn't tell anyone, not Emily, not my parents. The shame was overwhelming. How could I admit that I was so weak, so targeted? I carried it all inside, a heavy weight that made every step feel like trudging through mud. As the semester progressed, I learned to avoid them. I ate meals in my room, studied in obscure corners of the library, and kept my head down in classes. Emily tried to include me in her social circle, inviting me to parties and study groups, but I declined. I have too much homework, I'd say. The truth was, I was afraid. Afraid they'd target her too, afraid of more humiliation. By Thanksgiving break, I had lost weight, my cheeks hollow, my eyes shadowed. Mom noticed immediately when I got home. "Sarah, are you okay? You look so thin." I blamed it on the stress of college life. "It's just adjusting, Mom. I'll be fine." Dad hugged me tight. "You're our strong girl. We believe in you." Their words were a balm. But they also deepened my resolve to hide the truth. I couldn't let them down. The spring semester was no better. The seniors seemed to take delight in escalating their games. One day, they stole my backpack from the gym locker room and dumped its contents into the fountain in the quad. My notebooks were ruined, pages of notes smeared and illegible. I salvaged what I could, spending hours rewriting everything. Another time, Victoria borrowed my phone during a group project and posted embarrassing photos on social media. Me in my pajamas from a dorm sleepover, captioned, "Look at this loser." The likes and comments poured in, each one a dagger. I started keeping a journal, a small leather-bound book I hid under my mattress. In it, I poured out my pain. Today, they called me worthless. I smiled and walked away, but inside, I'm screaming. Writing became my outlet, a way to process the hurt without letting it consume me. I read books on resilience, stories of people who had overcome adversity. One day, I wrote, "I'll be stronger than this." The year ended with finals, and I passed with decent grades, but the toll was evident. I had no friends, no social life, just survival. Little did I know, the worst was yet to come. Entering my second year, I hoped for a fresh start. The original seniors had graduated, but their legacy lived on through underclassmen who had been their hangers-on. Rebecca and Sophia were now juniors, and they had recruited new members. A girl named Lauren with a mean streak and another called Mia who followed like a shadow. They seemed determined to continue the tradition, perhaps to assert their own power. The escalation was immediate. My books were no longer just scattered, they were torn apart. I'd find pages ripped out, covers defaced with crude drawings and insults. "Freak" scrawled in red marker across my history textbook. Assignments disappeared from my desk in the library, only to turn up submitted under someone else's name. The professors were strict about plagiarism, and without proof, I was the one who suffered. One particularly bad incident involved my midterm paper for English Lit. I had worked on it for weeks, analyzing Shakespeare's Hamlet. I left it in the printer tray for a moment, and when I returned, it was gone. The next day, Rebecca handed in an identical paper with her name on it. When I confronted the professor, Dr. Markham, he sided with her. "Miss Thompson, accusations like this are serious. Do you have evidence?" I didn't. I got a 0, and my GPA plummeted. The bathroom walls became their canvas. In the women's restroom in the main hall, my name appeared in black marker. "Sarah Thompson is a slut," followed by a phone number that wasn't mine. Calls and texts came in for weeks, crude, harassing messages from strangers. I changed my number, but the damage was done. Rumors spread like wildfire. That I was easy, that I had a secret boyfriend, that I was mentally unstable. Boys in class would leer or avoid me altogether. Socially, it was devastating. I tried to join a study group for biology, but after one session where Lauren, accidentally, spilled soda on my notes, the others distanced themselves. "It's not you," one girl whispered. But they're making it hard. I understood. No one wanted to be associated with the campus pariah. Nights were the hardest. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the day's events. Tears would come unbidden, silent and hot. Why me? I'd ask the darkness. Was it my shyness? My lack of wealth? My plain appearance? I started changing, cutting my hair short to look less noticeable, wearing baggy clothes to hide my figure. I ate less, exercised more, not for health but to feel in control of something. During winter break, my parents were worried. "You're so quiet, Sarah," Dad said. "Is everything okay at school?" I forced a smile. "Just busy with classes. I love it there." The lie tasted bitter, but I couldn't bear to worry them. They had mortgaged the house for my tuition. Admitting defeat would crush them. By the end of the year, I had learned to navigate the campus like a spy, knowing their schedules, avoiding their haunts. The cafeteria, once a place of potential friendship, became a minefield. I'd grab food quickly and eat in my room, alone with my thoughts and my journal. "Patience," I wrote one night. "They're teaching me patience. And one day, it'll be my turn." The third year was when isolation became my reality. I stopped trying to make friends entirely. The fear that anyone close to me would be targeted was too great. Emily had transferred to another school at the end of our first year, citing family issues, but I suspected the bullying had spilled over. Whispers about her being my loser friend. Classes were my only refuge. I threw myself into my studies, excelling in literature and history. Professor Elena Vazquez, a stern but fair woman with a passion for Victorian novels, became a mentor of sorts. "Your essays show depth, Sarah," she said during office hours. "Keep pushing." It was a rare validation in a sea of negativity. But the bullies found new ways to strike. They organized pranks that were anything but funny. One day, they locked me in a supply closet during a lab class, laughing as I pounded on the door. The janitor let me out an hour later, but the humiliation lingered. Another time, they dumped a bucket of cold water on me from a second-story window as I walked across the quad. "Cool off, freak," Mia yelled. I trudged back to my dorm, soaking wet, ignoring the stares. I began to withdraw even more. Meals were eaten in solitude, walks taken on deserted paths. I spent weekends in the library's basement stacks, surrounded by dusty books that didn't judge. Stories of revenge became my favorites. The Count of Monte Cristo, where Edmond Dantes plots his comeback. Carrie, where the bullied girl unleashes her power. One day, I whispered to the pages, "They'll regret this." My journal grew thicker, entries more detailed. Today, Rebecca shoved me into a wall. Bruise on my shoulder. But I didn't cry. I'm getting stronger. Physically, I was changing too. Running in the mornings, building endurance. Mentally, walls went up. Vulnerability was a luxury I couldn't afford. Spring break brought a brief respite at home. Mom cooked my favorite meals, Dad told jokes to make me laugh. But their concern was palpable. "You seem different, honey," Mom said. More distant. I blamed it on growing up. College is making me independent. They bought it, but I saw the worry in their eyes. By year's end, I was a ghost on campus, invisible yet always aware. The bullying continued, but it felt less sharp, like a dull ache I'd learned to live with. Patience was becoming my ally, teaching me to observe rather than react. The fourth year was when the cracks appeared, not in me, but in them. The bullies, now seniors, were facing their own pressures. Graduation loomed, applications for jobs and grad schools added stress. Rebecca was secretly cheating on exams, paying a hacker to alter grades. I overheard her in the coffee shop, whispering to Lauren, "Tim in IT is a genius. No one will know." Sophia had a hidden affair with a married professor, Dr. Markham from English. I caught glimpses, stolen kisses in his office, late-night meetings. "We have to be careful," I heard him say through the cracked door. Mia was dealing with stolen items, fencing them online for extra cash. I saw her pocketing jewelry from the campus store, her eyes darting nervously. Lauren had her own secret, a gambling addiction, betting on sports and owing money to shady figures. I didn't confront them. Instead, I collected. Pretending to be the same timid Sarah, I gathered evidence quietly. A small digital recorder hidden in my bag captured conversations. Photos taken from afar documented thefts. Emails traced from public computers linked to cheating. My journal evolved from event to a dossier. Rebecca. Cheating with Tim. Proof. Recording from 10/12. Sophia. Affair with Markham. Photos from 11/5. I took risks, following them discreetly, hacking into public Wi-Fi to track online activity. I had learned basic coding from a class. Close calls happened. Once, Mia almost spotted me, but I ducked into a crowd. All the while, the bullying persisted, but it was sloppier, less coordinated. A stolen lunch here, a rude comment there. They were distracted, and I used that. By year's end, I had an arsenal of secrets. Inside, I was changing, stronger, colder. "Patience has been my teacher," I wrote. "Now, it's time to graduate to action." The 5th year was my transformation. I started caring for my appearance, new clothes, makeup, gym routines. Heads turned, but the bullies dismissed it as trying too hard. Revenge began slowly, anonymously. First, Rebecca. An unsigned note to the dean about cheating patterns, attached with a USB of recordings. She was investigated, caught, suspended for a semester. Her grad school dreams evaporated. "Who did this?" she screamed in the hall, paranoia setting in. Next, Mia. Photos of thefts sent to campus security via burner email. She was arrested for petty larceny, expelled. Tears streamed as she packed her bags. Sophia was harder. I leaked the affair to the university ethics committee, evidence irrefutable. Dr. Markham was fired, Sophia disgraced, her reputation in tatters. Whispers turned against her. Homewrecker. Lauren's gambling was exposed to her parents, who cut her off financially. She dropped out, broken. I watched it all unfold from the shadows, a puppet master pulling strings. Their group fractured, accusations flew, friendships dissolved. "Someone's targeting us," Rebecca said to Sophia. They suspected rivals, exes, never me. The bullying stopped. They were too busy surviving. I walked the halls with head high, my silence now a weapon. The 6th year was the culmination. With the core dismantled, I targeted remnants, new recruits who had joined briefly. One had a drug habit. An anonymous tip led to a dorm search, expulsion. Public humiliations followed. In the cafeteria, I arranged for Rebecca's lost items, stolen goods she had hidden, to be discovered during a routine inspection. Laughter echoed at her. One by one, they fell. Suspended, expelled, disgraced. Their futures, law school for Rebecca, modeling for Sophia, lay in ruins. Graduation day arrived in May 2025. The sun shone on the quad, gowns billowing in the breeze. I stood tall on stage, diploma in hand, smiling as their names were absent from the program. 6 years of silence had not been weakness. It had been the forge for my revenge. Cold, complete, and utterly mine. And that was her journey, from silence to strength, from victim to victor. What started as years of pain ended as a legacy of courage. Remember, no matter how dark the times get, the truth always rises, and justice always finds its way. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because more powerful stories are on the way. Until next time, stay strong, and never let anyone dim your light.